Welcome to episode number 42 of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I'm your host, Triple J. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Dr. Games 101.
Oh, you can see my camera. I'm having some difficulties now.
And we got a bunch of gaming stories to talk about, so I say we just start streaming. Let me make sure I got a good connection. Alright, welcome to episode number 42 of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I'm your host, Triple J. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Dr. Games 101.
Oh, you can see my camera. I'm having some difficulties now.
And we got a bunch of gaming stories to talk about, so I say we just jump right in.
Oh, yes, definitely.
The first one is about, well, the first few are actually about Halo Infinite, different things. First, Halo Infinite Online and split-screen campaign co-op delayed. Halo Infinite was released last November after a year-long delay from its original 2020 release date, and did not launch with highly anticipated features like Campaign, Co-op, or Forge. With Campaign, Co-op, and Forge being staples in Halo games now, the lack of these features at launch last year was disappointing for fans. In February, Halo Infinite creative director Joseph Staten announced that an update regarding these modes due out in January had been delayed, and now we finally have received that update. Sadly, it comes with news that Campaign, Co-op, both online and as a split-screen experience, and Forge have been pushed back. The update was, "We're making great progress on Campaign Network Co-op," Staten writes in a new update. And to be clear, the work has been occurring parallel to Season 2 work, as has our work on Forge. But the reality is that it's going to take more time to land a high-quality, full-featured 4-player network co-op experience in the massive, wide-open world of Halo Infinite. We're also committed to a great 2-player split-screen co-op experience on all Xbox consoles from the original Xbox One through Xbox Series X, and the non-linear, wide-open sections of the campaign present some big challenges for the split-screen that have taken us more time to solve. All this means is that we will not be able to ship Campaign Network co-op on May 3rd at the start of Season 2, but we are still aiming to deliver Campaign co-op later in Season 2, and we will share a release date for that and for the split-screen co-op as soon as we can. As for Forge, Staten reveals that 343 Industries is already fighting this mode to flighting this mode. What does that mean? To a small group of community creators and working closely with them to ensure that the experience is terrific, both in creation, sharing, browsing, and actual gameplay. In the near term, we will continue to privately flight Forge as we develop it, while also planning for public flights later this year. We still have the goal of shipping Forge with Season 3. There you have it. We're likely weeks away from co-op being added to Halo Infinite, and months away from getting our hands on Forge. Are you excited about Halo Infinite's co-op features?
After all these months, I guess so, but the problem is that it's already too late. I heard, as of earlier this week, and late last week, that 95% of players that were there originally from the start of the launch, whether it's November 15th or December 8th, 95% of them just disappeared. They're not coming back anytime soon, if not at all. So I think this is like an anticlimactic situation, and I think it's going to be to a point where it's game over for Bungie and 343, whoever screwed up these situations at hand. So
you think it's too little, too late?
Pretty much, yeah. I understand that.
Well, I'm not a big Halo gamer unless it's in my dreams. Anyway, again, it's kind of, maybe Halo Infinite should have been delayed until these features were worked out. Because we're not talking about something that's never been done before. I remember playing Halo 4 split-screen campaign. I think Halo 3, I was able to play with a friend on the same screen. It's kind of like, while I admire the fact that they're trying to deliver on what they promised, maybe the best idea would have been to deliver the game, but some people will say better late than never.
Oh, yes.
Alright, like I said, we got plenty of news on Halo Infinite. The player base shrinking we'll get to in a minute, but we also got more news on top of that.
Oh, goody.
Halo Infinite multiplayer. Season 2 is called Lone Wolves. There are still a couple months left in Season 1 Heroes of Reach in Halo Infinite, but creative director Joseph Staten has revealed some of what we can expect in Season 2. More specifically, Staten has revealed in a new blog post that Season 2 will be called Lone Wolves. It will launch with its own battle pass, of course, but it will also feature at least one new big team battle map called Breaker and a new arena map called Catalyst. Both are expected to go live when Season 2, Lone Wolves, begins on May 3rd. The blog post read, "If you check your Season 1 Battle Pass, you will see that Season 1 ends on May 2nd, and that's because Season 2 will launch May 3rd, Staten writes in the blog post. "I'm very excited to announce the official name and theme for Season 2, which is Lone Wolves. By theme, we mean a core idea that guides the creation of much, but not all, of a season's content. Lone Wolf Spartans are hunters, trackers. They're resourceful improvisers operating deep in enemy territory without resupply or support. They're fierce, rugged, and prefer to work alone, but they're still loyal to the Spartan pack." Here's a look at, that was where the blog post ends. Here's a look at 2 of the season's Lone Wolves. Not all Seasons 2 content is attached to this theme, though. For example, below, the video doesn't play, so below is a look at the Free Fracture armor core for Season 2, which as you can see is quite the departure from the look of Lone Wolves. During Season 2, we will also be shipping playlist updates, balance changes, new modes and maps, specifically one arena map named Catalyst and one BTB map named Breaker, Staten writes. These new modes include Last Spartan Standing, a free-for-all elimination mode, as well as another new mode named Land Grab, plus the return of an updated all-time favorite mode, King of the Hill. Staten's update also dives into delay of online and split-screen campaign co-op, which is now coming sometime later during Season 2, and an update on Forge, which is expected in Season 3. The update concludes with a tease of the next Season 1 event, Tactical Ops. This event begins next week and includes variants of Tactical Slayer alongside new Mark 7 core focus rewards to win. Are you excited for Lone Wolves?
Well, not sure about that necessarily of Lone Wolves. I mean, you say it's going to be a ranked Lone Wolves, right?
Yeah, that's going to be like the name of Season 2, basically. That's because
like I said, they messed up. They have to understand. Most gamers, at the average of most gamers, they're in there for the here and now. They want to see it. If it's going to be good within a matter of hours to days, and that's it. And if not, then it's just move on after a couple of weeks, not even a month, and the next big thing will be what? What's that, maybe Elden Ring? They might go back to Elden Ring, so that came out like over 2 weeks ago, last time I checked.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. They got all these plans, but it could all be, for nothing if they don't keep their fan base happy, which from what you've told me, they're not.
Yeah, they're really not. They're not worried about the fan base as much because wherever these new 343 workers are, they're not the ones from Bungie to begin with. Because ever since when Halo 4 came out, now that was a Bungie style type of Halo making right there. And whatever happened to those workers after 2012, 2013, after the year 1 release of Halo 4, just went downhill from there on out to most people in the Halo community. But here's what I don't understand about some of the Halo community, especially the ones that are younger than us. They say that, Halo 5 sucks, it's horrible, it's garbage, Locke doesn't have no character, or he's just an unnecessary person in the Halo lore. But they don't understand that if you play from Halo 1 to Halo 4, and read a book or two, or at least a passage or two of what Halo was about, you'll see that it's Locke and those guys tied in with the DVD or the Blu-ray series called, I believe it's called something called After Dark, or it was like one of those beta pre-Halo 5 series. It's like Halo TV coming out this year, but it's meant for on DVD and also a Halo channel. I forgot what's it called exactly. So
yeah, so again, Halo, I mean, the name sounds cool, I'll say that. Even Season 1's name sounds cool. But, all these plans, like I said, could end up being scrapped if there's not a big enough fan base that are gonna care.
Yeah.
Because then the developers are gonna be like, why are we making all these plans when we got such a small fan base or such a small player base? Because people are fed up with Halo Infinite.
Mm-hmm.
So so I mean, these, like I said, Heroes of Reach and Lone Wolves sounds awesome, names, but people, I think the majority of Halo fans feel like they've been burned at least once already with Halo Infinite.
Oh yeah, not to mention the other game failures like Anthem, Cyberpunk, Marvel's Avengers. It's a one-to-one. It's only one shit out, shit in, shit out, shit in, shit in, shit out, over and over, and it gets tiresome after a while. You want to get stuff. So I really focus on today's gaming for once in my life. Anymore, or as often as I can, like right now. Then there's gone some older games like Left 4 Dead 2 and Star 64 ever. And I'm sure people will go back to those games far back. So it's a matter of time. It's only a matter of time until Bungie and 343 and Microsoft, whatever they did between those three companies, they did something good at first to break up the Bungie team efforts after their last Halo. I was Halo Reach, but after that, it's just I don't know what they were trying to do. Because if you want to keep your workers doing the same good stuff that they did before in the past, keep them. Don't cut them off because of the fact that they were part of an extra teammate or an extra diversity hire. Now, diversity hire is a little bit no in my perspective, but if they did good things for the company, keep them.
Right.
So.
Okay. Well, we got more Halo Infinite news, which you brought to my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Halo Infinite is losing players fast, but that's no problem for a live service game. Players from Xbox and PC are leaving Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite has lost a significant number of active players since it launched to a warm reception last year. Critics praised the game across the board, while Microsoft called Halo Infinite the biggest launch in Halo franchise history and said the game had attracted 20 million total players by January 25th. However, the game has proved less successful when it comes to retaining those players, with many no longer returning regularly to the shooter. On PC, Halo Infinite's player count has fallen dramatically since launch, now peaking at around 30,000 daily concurrent players on Steam. When the game launched in November, its daily concurrent player count peaked above 250,000 players, so that's nearly a 90% drop-off.
Mm-hmm.
It's a similar story with the Xbox release, as Forbes reports. Halo Infinite has fallen out of Xbox's top 5 most played games, taking 6th position behind Fortnite, Call of Duty, Warzone, GTA 5, Apex Legends, and Roblox. Didn't know Roblox was still around. Although Microsoft hasn't published any hard numbers about Halo Infinite's Xbox player count, the game looks to be following the same trend as it has on PC downwards. A player exodus shouldn't be surprising. Despite its glowing reception at launch, Halo Infinite hasn't been without issues. When the multiplayer released in November, players reported a glut of bugs and glitches affecting gameplay, matchmaking, graphics, and more. Although plenty of these problems were fixed in good time and are par for the course with any AAA multiplayer shooter at launch, some persisted for months. Only last week did developer 343 Industries successfully release a patch to solve big team battle matchmaking issues, which has prevented players from joining matches in large parties. Similarly, the game has come under fire for its punishing Battle Pass progression system, which required players to complete set challenges for XP. It raised a number of problems for players who found they were unable to complete some challenges and weren't happy with the slow pace at which rewards were unlocked. As a result, the Battle Pass progression system was overhauled a few weeks later to reward players more consistently. Other issues have cropped up too, such as the excessively costly microtransactions in Halo Infinite's in-game shop and mandatory crossplay that requires Xbox users to play against PC gamers. The worry is that PC users can score an advantage with their keyboard and mouse setups and have greater access to game-breaking cheats. Now, that last part I can agree with. The absence of classic Halo game modes like King of the Hill, Infection, and Griffball has also rubbed some players the wrong way, while the promise of Forge and campaign co-op coming sometime later this year is proving too long a wait for eager fans. But these problems aren't peculiar for Halo Infinite. No huge multiplayer shooter launches without bugs, glitches, and quality of life problems that can take weeks or months to iron out. Battlefield 2042 has been lambasted by fans for its mass of broken features, and Call of Duty Vanguard isn't exactly squeaky clean in the defect department either. To single out Halo Infinite's gameplay issues as the driving factor behind its player exodus does the game a disservice and lets others off the hook. The game's dwindling player base says more about the nature of live service games than it does the quality of the title itself. By throwing waves of content at players, live service games follow an ebb and flow of popularity. Players might leave after a few months, but will return when a new game mode drops, a major event launches, or some other piece of new content draws them back. Live service games aren't designed to keep your constant attention, but provide a base to which you can return time and again. With Halo Infinite's multiplayer free-to-play on Xbox Series and PC, it's a strong position to lure lapsed players back to the game through major DLC releases. We wouldn't be surprised if its player count rapidly soared later this year when its next and indeed first major content drop releases. As a 90% fall in active players doesn't look good for 343 Industries. And the developer may well be disappointed at how quickly fans have left. But it certainly doesn't signal the premature decline of Halo Infinite, or should it come as much of a surprise. The game has successfully captured huge interest and can now let its live service magic do its thing. So yeah, I agree with what they said. Keep in mind, live service, it's new for this generation, it's new for any generation. And yeah, I do. You don't think people could be drawn back when they hear that there's new content?
Well, right now, to the current Halo players and myself, we still play Halo, or as I personally myself play Halo earlier today, especially Halo Infinite. But it's not that bad to see them still doing something for Halo Infinite. Just that it took them almost 6 months later, especially by May 3rd, like you mentioned. So whatever's going to happen between now and May 3rd, they better do it. They better make sure it's the right amount of information for us, the fans, like it's the proper channels, the proper services that they said they're going to do back in November 15th release, or the pre-release, what I call it like that. And they should have done this back December 8th when the Halo campaign came out. That'll be a nice time for everything. They'll bring out the Fiesta, bring about the Forge maps, bring about the theater mode. Our theater mode and Forge maps are so limited. And I'm looking at this stuff early this afternoon too on the Halo Infinite theater and Forge. I'm seeing that, or at least the theater, at least it's so limited. It's like, this is not what I'm thinking of when I see Halo. Because after Halo 2, from Halo 3, Halo 4, Halo Reach, even Halo 5 actually had decent coverage of Forge and theater, or a decent set of options, set of subservices, you want to call like that. So it's a matter of time until they get their act together. If not, then it's a dead bug. It's a dead bug by after May.
Right. Okay. So, again, like one point that they brought up that I have to agree with. Live, we're not playing a game here like Mafia or I'm really blanking on shooters right now, or Doom or something like that. This is going to be something that will have a lot of interest when something new drops, and then it's impossible for the company to make something else that will have the same amount of attention or more before people lose interest, because once people have played it for a while, regardless how long a while is, by the time there's no way they're going to have that next new thing ready to go bug free before players lose interest in this new thing. So that just launched. So it's gonna, like they said, it's gonna ebb and flow. And I do think a lot of people will be coming back to at least check something out. But it's gonna be one of those things about It's going to be just, some days it's hot, some days it's not. I mean, being the sixth most played online game is not bad. At least it's still in the top 10.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think any online live service game is gonna get a boost when they release something new, especially if the fans still playing it all the time are praising it.
Oh yeah.
So, maybe this is something that maybe this is something that developers have to take into account when they make online live service games. That, your player base is going to go up and down. The thing is, every time you release something, make sure it's as great as it can be. It's something that fans want. And hopefully people will keep coming back when they hear new things. This is something else. This isn't like a game that you can release a few DLC packs and then just leave the game. Like we're done. No, if it's a live service, it's a service. You have to continue that service.
Right.
So,
And
go on.
they do have what they announced many weeks ago prior to the release, if I recall correctly, and something will also been referred by other gamers, that Halo Infinite is supposed to be a 10-year project, meaning that for the next 10 years, the live services will be active and updated often. And that's kind of like a weird proposition to make before the release. I'd rather wait until obviously after about 6 months and take it from there with how long you want to keep the live service going. But at the same time, I'd rather just have a full game, both the Halo campaign and the multiplayer, Forge and Theater and everything else built into the game itself before release, and take it from there. But that's not going to happen right now. It's too late for that. Now they play catch up and make up too. So
yeah. So again, So
Sorry.
like I said, it's gonna be this is basically uncharted territory. Live service games are still kind of new, a new concept.
Hmm.
Doom and Gloom really shouldn't be looked at for a live service game until new editions no longer get any new players, or very few players coming back.
Oh yeah.
But like I said, this is something that's we've never had really, except for the last 5 years.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, so it's new. What I'm saying is it's new for developers and it's new for players.
Oh yeah.
Ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry for that. I was shaking up the camera. It's just that I have my smartphone, guys, and I'm recording live on my channel as well. It's just that it's through my phone app. So sorry for the technical difficulties.
All right. EA to remove Russian teams from NHL 22 and FIFA 22. Big players in the video game world are responding to Russia's invasion of Ukraine and are removing the sport teams of the aggressor nations from its games. The move is an act of solidarity with the other organizations aiming to denounce the recent military action. Specifically, in a pair of tweets, EA has announced it will move Russian and Belarusian teams from the most recent versions of its popular sports franchises, FIFA and NHL 22. Following in the footsteps of real-world sports organizations FIFA, UEFA, and IIHF in the suspension of Russia and Belarusian national teams and clubs, EA will remove these teams from their games as well in the coming days and weeks. Quote, in line with our partners at FIFA and UEFA, says the Twitter announcement, quote, EA Sports has initiated process to remove the Russian national team and all Russian clubs from EA Sports FIFA products, including FIFA 22, FIFA Mobile, and FIFA Online. We're also actively evaluating related changes to other areas of our games, end quote. The same goes for the hockey franchise NHL 22, which will be trimmed of its teams representing both Russia and Belarus. EA Sports stands in solidarity with the Ukrainian people, and like so many voices across the world of football, calls for peace and end to the invasion of Ukraine, reads the FIFA account's announcement, with a similar sentiment shared from the EA Sports NHL account. The removal of teams is set to start in the coming weeks. EA has stated that it will provide additional updates on the matter as they become available. My question to you is: we've never seen anything like this before, where it's like when 9/11 happened, they weren't removing teams from sports games that might be in the same area as Afghanistan.
Middle East. Yeah.
So what do you make of this now that like even sports games are saying we're going to take action with how we can?
It's kind of petty at first because we do business with Russia, not directly, of course, but with other international means. So yes, you want to make sure that they stay in their lane, stay in a straight line with everyone else in. But there are times where people become powerful enough to want more power, and this Russia thing is the UN and all these political leaders. They think too much of a groupthink type of mentality, and this hinders on other aspects of everyday life, like entertainment, sports, and so on and so forth, and especially with video games. It's like, kind of, wait a second, like, if I recall correctly, how many times of how many places, countries, we always have these wars going on, like Kosovo, or even Afghanistan. Even you tell them that they cut ties from Iran because they actually promoted to terrorism in Afghanistan through their network of people or their organizations. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, I'd say you want to cut off the beast's feed, to make sure that the beast dies off very slowly but surely, to make sure it never feel overwhelmed or feel like it has to overthrow their master, in a sense. So it sounds weird to say that from a political standpoint, but that's what's going on right now. So it's a group thing, and 20 years ago, when we had other countries going after each other, we didn't censor them from NHL or from NBA or anything like that. They still watch it in their countries. They still get our Shermoffs, and we get the vodka from Russia. And I'm hearing too that in all stores here in the United States, at least where I live in New York State alone, they're removing vodka from store shelves, from the liquor stores.
Oh wow!
So I mean, yeah. So this is ridiculous. I also know what's going on in the liquor stores in person. I usually buy my wine online. But other than that, it comes out to the actual overall tendency is kind of petty,
Right. It's definitely something that we haven't seen before. That's what that's the surprising thing from me. Yeah, it's just something we haven't seen before, and it's kind of, and I mean, I understand they kind of want to look at it like being a team player, being loyal to your country, but at the same time, I really don't want to get into a conflict with Russia with who we have as the commander in chief. Well, I don't want to get into a conflict with an elementary school who we have as commander in chief. Anyway, but that's beside the point.
Yes.
So I'll try to digress. Like I said, on one hand, it's bad, but at the same, but on the other hand, I don't really see it doing anything except affecting players. Like, if you want to boycott players from Russia and Belarus, that's one thing. But what about the other players that you're affecting? Okay, so you don't have the Russian clubs and stuff. But what about people who want to still play as these teams that don't live in Russia and Belarus? Not every soccer player is like me, who always picks USA as the team to control. There are people who pick other teams from other countries, and I don't see this being helping in any way.
it's a group think mentality between the countries now, because now everyone's unified under the UN, obviously, and if you want to speak about the NWO, the New World Order, that's what's going on for many years now, and it's what happens. If you step out of line with the UN, they're going to get you, dogpile you for, or ostracize you from the group or from the group of nations. So, and Putin, now I'm not sure if he's a gamer himself or not, but I'm sure he has sons and daughters, or at least some family members, whatever, that plays games. So it's like it's going to affect the video game market over there. However, what I heard from Review Tech USA recently was that Russia allows copyright, like pirating, in their country now after this week. So these people who are living in Russia are now really have a field day with what they want to buy or what sell or redistribute, distribute, you name it. Like, you do whatever you want to do over for piracy reasons.
Okay, so like I said, I just don't see this helping anyone in any way. Like, great, they're standing, for this help and support of Ukraine. But, at the same time, when the U.S. was in war with Afghanistan, where was this action then?
Yeah, you're right.
When 9/11 happened, where was all this?
Even Pearl Harbor. Mm-hmm. I mean, even though we were at war,
video games weren't around when Pearl Harbor happened, but
you know what I mean, like there was like a gaming community of some sort, not video games, but board games and chess pieces and stuff like that. That's I'm sure they had something like that back 50, 60, 70 years ago. So
yes, so I mean, it's a weird move, and honestly, it's. I'm having a little trouble separating myself from it because I do pay attention to the news. I listen to the jokers that say